When the sun set over ancient Rome, 1 million people went to sleep. But thousands of workers emerged from the shadows. They cleaned streets flooded with waste, hauled away the remnants of daily life, and descended into tunnels so dark, most Romans never spoke of them. This is the verified story of Rome's night workers. The people who kept the empire alive after dark. Using official archaeological evidence, during daylight, Rome was chaos. Over 1 million people crowded into insulate apartment blocks stacked 7 stories high. Market vendors shouted, blacksmiths hammered, and animals pulled carts through streets barely wide enough for 2 people. But Roman law forbade wheeled traffic during the day. When the sun disappeared, the city transformed. The noise of commerce was replaced by a different sound, the scraping of shovels, the splash of water, and the whispers of the forgotten. The heart of Rome's night operation was the Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer, built in the 6th century BCE. This underground channel stretched over 800 meters beneath the city. Here's the verified location on modern Rome's map. Workers called cloacarii descended into this tunnel system every night. According to official Roman records, they cleared blockages, removed debris, and prevented floods. This wasn't just sanitation. This was survival infrastructure for an empire. So who were these night workers? Not slaves, as you might think. Many were freed men, libertés, who took on this dangerous work for steady pay. Others were urban poor, living in ground-floor tenements. Roman historians confirm they formed guilds, organized groups with their own leaders. They had names, they had families. And every night they risked their lives in absolute darkness, armed only with torches and primitive tools. Here's the official documentation from archaeological sources. The Cloaca Maxima article confirms what historians have found. This sewer system wasn't just functional, it was monumental engineering. The vaulted ceiling stood over 3 meters high in some sections, large enough for workers to walk upright. Latin inscriptions found near tunnel entrances reference the cloacarii by name. This is verified evidence that these workers weren't just myths. They were essential to Rome's daily survival, recorded in stone and text. The night shift began at sunset. Workers divided into teams. Street cleaners, archaeological, swept waste into piles. Cart drivers hauled refuse outside city walls. Lantern bearers, cloacarii, guided the way through pitch-black streets. And below, the cloacarii entered the tunnels. They cleared human waste, dead animals, broken pottery, and construction debris. The smell was suffocating. The heat was unbearable. One slip on the slick stone could mean a tragic end in the flowing darkness below. But what Rome's citizens didn't know was that a secret document changed everything. A 1st century contract, discovered in a villa outside Rome, revealed the true cost of keeping the empire clean. The night workers weren't just paid laborers. They were part of a system so dark, so carefully hidden, that historians only uncovered it recently. We'll show that document at the end of this video. Working in the Cloaca Maxima was lethal. Ancient sources describe workers overcome by toxic fumes, probably methane from decomposing waste. Others were swept away during flash floods, when sudden rainstorms filled the tunnels in minutes. Archaeological evidence shows crude shrines near tunnel entrances, dedicated to Cloacina, goddess of the sewer. Workers prayed before descending. Many never returned. Yet the next night, new workers took their place. The empire demanded it. Let's look at the scale. This chart shows Rome's population during the imperial era, over 1 million people by the 2nd century CE. Research shows each person produced approximately 1 kilogram of waste daily. That's over 1 million kilograms of refuse every single day. Without the night workers, the city would have drowned in its own filth within weeks. This is verified data from archaeological studies. The numbers prove how vital these workers were to Rome's survival. Despite their importance, night workers were invisible. Elite Romans never mentioned them in literature. Poets wrote about gladiators and emperors, but not the people who cleaned the streets those gladiators walked on. The cloacarii lived in the poorest districts. They ate at the cheapest taverns. Their children inherited the same work. Historians confirm this created a hereditary underclass, essential to the empire, yet erased from its history, until now. Because we have official evidence that proves they existed. So how much were they paid? Roman financial records, preserved on papyrus fragments, show cloacarii earned around 4 to 6 sestertii per day, roughly the cost of a loaf of bread. Street cleaners made even less. Compare this to skilled artisans who earned 20 sestertii daily. The night workers made just enough to survive, but never enough to escape. It was economic entrapment disguised as employment. A system designed to keep them working forever. Now, here's the secret document we promised. This is a 1st century contract discovered in Herculaneum, preserved by volcanic ash. It shows a government agreement with private contractors to manage Rome's waste removal. The verified text proves this wasn't public works. This was privatized. Wealthy Romans paid to keep the system running while keeping the workers invisible. Here's the official translation showing exact terms. This changes how historians understand Rome's infrastructure completely. 2,000 years later, we still have night workers, sanitation crews, street cleaners, and infrastructure maintainers who work while cities sleep. They're still underpaid, still invisible. The system Rome created never really ended, it just evolved. Research shows that acknowledging hidden labor is essential to understanding how civilizations function. Rome's night workers weren't just cleaning streets. They were holding an empire together, one dark tunnel at a time, and history finally remembers them. The Cloaca Maxima still exists today. You can visit it in modern Rome. Parts of the tunnel are 25 centuries old, still functioning, still carrying water beneath the city. When you walk above it, remember the thousands of workers who descended into that darkness, night after night, keeping Rome alive. They had no statues, no monuments, but they built something that outlasted emperors. They built survival. This is why we investigate erased history. Next, we're re-exposing the Roman military's darkest secret. The soldiers who never made it into history books. The ones who were deliberately removed from official records. Subscribe now to watch the full investigation. You won't find this in textbooks. Only here.